You have a very bad echo too.
Do you think that might be?
Okay, do I still have that echo?
No, that's better.
Okay, excellent. Okay,
We are streaming and recording.
okay. I think since it looks like it's 7 o'clock in the evening, and I think we have a quorum with us. So I think we can begin the meeting then. Okay. Well, good evening and welcome to the September 1st, 2020 meeting of the Brookfield Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA. First, let me introduce the members of the ZBA present here this evening. I'm Robert Marconi, Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Neil Capola, our Vice Chairman, is present. Let's see, is Juliana Zach present?
She's absent tonight.
She's absent tonight, okay. Larry Rushmeyer. I've seen
present.
Joseph Fusillo is present.
Correct.
And Louise Trojanowski Marconi and Lisa Temple are present. And then our zoning enforcement officer, Fran Lally, is present. And our recording secretary, Allison Kennedy, is present. So the current agenda can be found under our board meetings under the town website, Town of Brookfield website. I will call each applicant one at a time. When I call the property address, please come forward and tell us about your appeal. After we've gone through all the cases on the agenda tonight, we will close the public portion of the meeting. That is the evidentiary portion of the meeting. And we'll deliberate in open executive session. You must have at least 4 affirmative votes to have your appeal granted. You are welcome to stay to the end of the meeting or contact the land use office in the morning. And usually it's worthwhile for you to be able to stay through the end of the meeting because we deliberate in due time. Note that in regards to any appeal that is granted, it is constrained to the plan submitted and to any purposes stated in the application, unless this board specifically notes otherwise. Now, the public evidentiary hearing is only one aspect of the approval process, and it's for the purposes of accepting factual information and data bearing on this application, and allows expression of opinion by interested parties. The final decision by this board may be in the form of approved as submitted, approved with stipulations, that is conditions, or disapproved. After reading to the record the correspondence received by the board relative to this application, we will ask the applicant to present the application in detail. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification from board members concerning the applicant's presentation. We will then hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed to the application. Following each side of the question, the applicant will then be allowed to make concluding remarks. Now, all questions and comments must be directed to the chair. As you are recognized, please state your name and address each time before you speak so that your comments may be legally recorded. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the board is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application, and in view of time constraints placed upon us, since we have to hear all the cases, we ask your indulgence in not simply reiterating comments previously presented. You can simply state that you've agreed with the comments that someone else has already stated. So, moving on to the agenda, first is the review of the minutes for our meeting on August 3rd, 2020. I'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved, Louise.
So Louise has moved approval. Second?
A second.
Okay, Neil, a second. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes that any members want to add? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes of August 3rd, 2020? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
I'm going to
opposed?
abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay,
Yeah, nor I.
okay. So basically, of those voting, it's unanimous, but we have 2 abstentions. So the minutes have been approved. Okay. We have received also the minutes of other boards and commissions. That's also on the agenda. We don't have to act on them. That is for our own benefit. Let's move on to public hearings. Now, before we go on to the public hearings, I did receive an email that we received some correspondence, I guess since our packages were delivered. Is that correct, Fran?
Yes.
And which case does that apply to?
We received one correspondence for 1 Knollcrest Drive and then some other correspondence for 3 Freddy's Lane. And then
Okay.
one correspondence for 77 Obtuse Hill Road.
Okay, so first, before we have the applicant present 1 Knollcrest Drive, Fran, can you read into the record the correspondence received?
Yes, it was sent back to us, dropped off this afternoon today, September 1st, 2020. It says, Mr. and Mrs. Paravos don't agree with this because in blocking driveway, all the noise, and it's signed by Larry Parvalis, I guess it is. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it correct.
Okay.
But that was received today, and that was it.
Yeah, if you could spell it for the record.
Paravalos.
Okay, is Mr. and Ms. Parvalis present today? Okay, I don't hear them. So, okay, so that correspondence is in the record for our first case, 1 Knollcrest Drive. That is application number Z-20-77. And could we please have the applicant come forward? And I know we have the application, but if you could present your case.
Okay, I'm Kelly Martone of 1 Knollcrest Drive, and I wanted to start by playing the videos that I sent. Allison, are you able to share those?
Yeah, I'll bring up those videos.
Because it'll give you a good idea of just to visualize my property and where we're presenting or proposing the pool. So the first video is of the front yard, the house, and then the second video shows the pool.
Very good.
I'm just bringing those up now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, does everybody see that? I'm just going to press play.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do talk, so I don't know if you can hear it.
Okay, I don't hear any sound in the video at this point.
Okay, so I can just talk for you. So this
Yeah.
is the front of the house, and behind me is West Wisconneer Road. And then down here where you see the black car, that's Pocono Ridge. So we're on the corner of West Wisconneer, Pocono Ridge. And then to the rear is Knollcrest. And that's where I'm pointing in the video. So this is the front of our home. And then the second video, I'll show you the back. So we have like 3 front yards, I think is the way the zoning is considering it, and 1 side yard.
So is it a triangular shaped property?
It's a pie shape. Sort of.
Sort of a rounded end. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the map on it, or the chart.
Yeah, so this is the second video. So you go through the gate to the backyard. And then that stone wall, that's Knollcrest Drive behind the stone wall. The patio sort of in the middle. And then I'm walking towards, and today we marked out, we had a survey done. So, and then we marked so that you could see. So this is where the proposed pool would be. We
Yeah.
chose this spot because we felt like it offered the most privacy based on where the neighbor is to the side. The green mark behind that, that's the 30-foot setback. And then the stakes is our actual property line.
Is that home there, the home of the person who issued the correspondence?
No.
No, the correspondence, if you keep going in the video, I think I go back to the road. Those people in that house across the street. And so that was the other reason for the placement. It was furthest from the road, so closest to the house and kind of offered the most privacy. That person across the street, about 5 years ago, we moved into this house, and the day we were moving in, they complained because my whole family came to help, and my aunt parked on our property, but right directly across from their driveway. So he said something, so she moved her car immediately. That's the only complaint I've ever gotten from them about parking. And I mean, the pool is just for us. It's not going to be a public pool or anything. So parking should not be a concern. We're not really big party people. So I don't know that the noise should be an issue either, but that's kind of gives you a visual, hopefully a better idea of where we want the pool to go. And then I think you have the map too.
Yes, we do. It's very helpful. So we basically have an unusual shaped property relative to the streets and that it borders on. Very few properties border on 3 streets.
Right.
So at any rate, let me ask if any members of the board have any questions of Ms. Martone.
I'm good.
Okay,
Pretty straightforward. Easy.
I'm pretty
request.
familiar with the property.
okay,
I don't have any questions.
all right. Now I just have to figure out, by the way, tonight, how many members do we have present here? Because we have both our alternates present here, Larry and Joe. So I have to figure out, do we have 6 or 5 members?
You have 6 members, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yes. Okay, so I'm going to suggest, since we have 4 cases, is that each alternate votes on 2 cases, handles 2 cases.
Makes sense.
And I'll let our 2 alternates volunteer as far as which one wants to be on which case.
I'll take the first and second, if that's okay with Larry.
That's fine, Joe.
Okay, very good. We want to make sure that we have straight now who's voting on matters here. Okay. So I take it there aren't any further comments or questions from board members?
Nope.
Okay. Then let me ask, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none. Are there any members of the public who want to speak in opposition to this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go right ahead. Please identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Brookfield. My name is Mark Grenier. I'm an attorney with the law offices of DePanfilis and Valerie, DEPANFILIS, ampersand Valerie, VALLERIE, at 25 Belden Avenue in Norwalk, Connecticut. And I'm here tonight representing Mr. Dan Manzi, the abutting neighbor at 46 West Kinnear Road, which you would have seen, which the house on video number 1 directly to the right from where Ms. Martone was shooting the video of the front of her home. We're here to object on behalf of this application, as the applicant states in her application that there is a hardship and that there are 3 front yards and 1 side yard. Based upon the survey that I was able to pull off from your application, the survey shows 3 front yards with a 50-foot setback all around this triangular shaped piece of property, pie-shaped piece of property. Yet there's no notation on the survey showing the 30-foot or whatever side setback that's being referred to as a side yard. So there's no notation on the survey on here. Also, as you can see in looking, this property is located in the R80 zone, which has a 50-foot setback on this piece of property. Now, the zoning regulations for the town of Brookfield are pretty clear that swimming pools are not permitted in the front yard. And front yard is different than front yard setback. So you have a general regulation that says that no swimming pools in a front yard, and yet you also have a setback for front yards. In this particular case, in the R80 zone, is 50 feet. So it's unclear as to what actually this applicant is asking the ZBA to do. The property shows the proposed pool to be 37 feet at the water's edge, as submitted on the survey. There is no proposed apron or fencing on the survey to show how much further it's going to encroach into toward my client's property, again, to the right-hand side of on that video. So right now, it looks like it's encroaching 17 feet into the 50-foot required setback. Now, if we're allowed to, have a pool in the front yard, if the consensus is, yes, we want to allow a pool in the front yard, the question then becomes, well, where can the pool be located? Right now, it's saying to be 37 feet. Who's to say that it can't be right up against the property line? Well, you have a regulation that says a pool structure has to be consistent with the setbacks for R80 zone. The R80 zone is 50 feet. So my position would be, when you look at the survey, a couple alternatives can happen. The pool could run to the north and west, could be cantilevered to run parallel to be outside the 50-foot front setback. In addition, the pool could be more moved toward the west and south, more toward the back of the house where Ms. Martone was walking toward in order to have the pool there, or make the pool smaller in dimension. So this is a proposal that there is no legal, I think, hardship under the rules, on the regulations for the town of Brookfield, nor state statutes and case law. So just because the applicant wants to have a pool, which she's entitled to have a pool, the question has to be consistent in conformity with the zoning regulations for the town of Brookfield. And we believe that the stated hardship is not consistent. Ms. Martone presumably knew 5 years ago when she bought the property that she's buying this property subject to all the applicable zoning regulations for the town of Brookfield. And this is the regulation that the town has implemented that I cited before, which are under regulations about no swimming pools in the front yard. So I don't believe that the applicant has stated a hardship to allow the board to grant her variance, nor is the application complete, because again, it doesn't show the claimed rear yard, and there's no definition as to where the pool is actually going to be other than 37 feet into the setback. And I submit that, if the application is incomplete, I don't know on the video as to whether or not the dimensions that we saw on the ground were composed in accordance with what had been submitted in her application. So while it may look nice, in doing the video where the layout's going to be, the fact is we do have zoning regulations and we cannot tell whether or not and I'm saying that Ms. Martone didn't do it maliciously or not. I just don't know. We have no way to know whether or not the layout as proposed is accurate depiction as to what the survey as presented in the application. In conclusion, again, I would just submit that I do not believe there is a legal hardship presented for this, but should the board consider that there is a hardship, that it wants to allow pools in the front yard, the question becomes, what's the limitation? I submit your regulations say 50 feet, which means it would be in violation of the 50-foot. And then also they indicated the pool can be manipulated to run parallel. Thank you for your time.
Certainly, but by the way, there are two observations I do want to make, is that you've mentioned, Counsel, that she probably knew all the regulations ahead of time. Well, that's true of anybody who comes before this board. And you mentioned that the pool would be violating regulations. Well, that's why you seek variances, is because they violate the existing regulations. So we have to decide whether a variance is appropriate under these circumstances. And yes, now we have to decide whether there's a hardship too. So
Does Mrs. Martone know where the septic system is located?
I think it's on the drawing.
Yes, I do. The tank is in the front yard and the fields are on the other side of the property along Pocono Ridge.
Right, so that's Pocono Ridge, where we were talking about relocating the pool. So the septic fields are over there. And also, I would assume that the fence doesn't need a variance. It can be put on the property line. I don't think you need a variance to put a fence up.
No, you do not.
Secondarily, that pool then becomes most exposed to every road there is.
Mr. Chairman, Mark Grenier, 25 Belden Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut. To respond to that query, I think it was just a misstatement. The pool is located in the rear. It wasn't asked to be moved to the front along West Kinnear. It was going to be in the back of the house. And all I suggested is that it could be cantilevered to run parallel to the 50-foot setback or moved along the back of parallel to the house. I never made a representation that the pool could be relocated to the front. So I just want to make sure that's clear. I was not saying that at all. It can be where the present location, proposed location is, it can be moved in the back of the house.
I would consider where the reserve system for the septic would be then.
Mr. Chairman, there was a map that was submitted that shows the septic system. I believe Allison can pull that up.
that would be good.
What are you looking for, Fran?
There was a map that was submitted, shows the septic system.
Okay.
I think it's after the fact.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah,
Septic as built.
I think so, for 1 Knollcrest.
Okay. Okay. Is this what you meant?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you can zoom in on that or not.
Yeah, what do you want me to, just right here?
Okay, so let's see where, I see the septic tank. And looks like it's in front of the porch.
Correct.
It looks like there are 2 porches, but from this chart.
Yes, there's a porch in the front and a porch in the back. The screen porch is in the back. So the tank is right off the front of the porch, and then on your screen, it would be over to the right, like those yellow long lines, those are the fields.
All right, so when we first saw the video of the, what looked like the front of the house,
Yep.
that was from the direction of where the septic tank is located, isn't it?
Yes, correct. I was standing out towards, past the septic tank, looking back at the house.
And the proposed pool was going to be on the other side of the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I would ask objecting counsel, where would he put the pool in relationship to the front, the back, or the sides of the house?
I believe under the survey that's part of the application that shows where the 37 feet on the water's edge, which, and it says, I think it would be by the hatchway area
Yes.
as shown on that map that's drawn up or that's on the board. That could be run, as I said before, turned to run parallel with the 50-foot setback line. Or it could be toward the right, moving toward the porch area on the back of the house. So that's how it could be solved, the problem on the 50-foot issue, which hasn't really been, but I'm just saying that's where it would be. So it's in the hatch area, I believe, that right behind the corner where the pool goes into that 50-foot setback.
I think it's 30 feet though. It's not a 50-foot setback from the side property line. It's only 30.
Mr. Chairman, again, that's what I was talking about, where there's nothing on the survey or anything before you today as to where the setback, if any, is. I don't believe there is. I think this is a 50-foot all around, which was approved for this building lot.
Mr. Chairman, if I may intercede 1 second, please. The setback line for the 50 feet is a building setback, not a pool setback. The pool setback for the R80 zone is 30 feet. The building setback is 50 feet. It's considered a structure according to regulation 3.5 of the building and height requirements. And if you go to the regulations in Article 3.9, swimming pools R80, the distance is 30 feet.
All right.
It's not, well, again, Mark Grenier, 25 Belvin Avenue. Again, it's not noted on the application where the rear setback is. For one, and I don't disagree with Mr. Lally as his representation of what he says, but it doesn't appear that there was a rear yard or a side yard setback here.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Joseph Baraglia, 1 Knoll Crest Drive. My wife's turning off her computer. Give me a moment, please. I apologize.
Certainly.
I believe Mr. Grenier is
I'm sorry, can you
improperly
repeat your name,
analyzing
please?
the entire application. The variance that's been requested is from section 3.9, which precludes pools
Okay,
in the
who is
front
speaking?
yard.
Who is speaking?
Can I come in? The property has 3 front yards according to
Who
the
is
regulations
speaking?
and 1 side yard.
Joe, can you be
The
heard?
side yard is Mr. Manzi's property. The
Okay,
setback
who-
is clearly 30 feet from there,
Sir,
irrespective of
who is
where it's
speaking?
shown on the map. We don't
Please
need to show
identify
what the
yourself.
30-foot setback is.
Please identify
represented
yourself,
to the
sir.
commission
You're
that
out of
the pool
order.
Will be 37 feet from the line.
Cut
That's
the
well
mic.
within the 30.
Joe. Mr. Chairman, am I being heard?
You are being heard.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to drop off the call. I can say for the record that the gentleman you were just listening to was Joe Baraglia, which is the
I'm
applicant.
sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure if you heard my last comment.
You did not identify yourself for the record. I asked you to, and you kept going.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'd probably reiterate, may I be heard?
Yes, please
Okay,
identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Ken Slater. I apologize. I had to jump off and back on. My audio wasn't working. I was going to come in. I'm an attorney. I'm the chair of the municipal department of Halloran and Sage and represent the applicant, and wanted to comment on some things that were said by counsel for my client's neighbor. This is not, and I think this was what Mr. Bragula was commenting on, this is not a matter involving setbacks. Your zoning regulations define corner lots, and your corner lot definition says that the property will have 2 front yards and 2 side yards. And you measure in this case, the side yard is clearly the boundary between the applicant's property and Attorney Grenier's property. And then you go to section 3.9 of your regulations, and it has a chart for specific setbacks related to pools. And it, rather than having a 50-foot setback in the R80 zone, it has a 30-foot setback. So the location that was being proposed would not be in violation of any setbacks. And that would be a matter for the zoning enforcement officer. If when the applicant goes and tries to get a zoning permit for the pool, if in fact there was an encroachment on a yard, then she won't get her permit. But all that's needed here is arising from the unusual fact that this property is unusually shaped and has 3 roads that abut it. So the requirement that needs a variance is the one that says in 3.9 that pools cannot be located in a front yard. No one would consider where that's being located as a front yard. And behind the home, the neighbor that raised the concerns, I think the applicant very clearly addressed the fact that the parking was a mishap that happened 5 years ago, and the pool is not going to change parking. And where it's being located as far away from that house as possible is not going to create noise. So turning back to the hardship concept, I mean, this commission, I do training, and you might have been at some of ours for the University of Connecticut's program for training land use officers. And we also do them we represent about 20 towns, I think more than anyone else in the state. And we do training for ZBAs as well as others. And you are placed in a unique position. You get to look at, if you look at your agenda tonight and you look at all your other agendas, there are instances where people come to you to seek relief because a strict application of the regulations can't be done. You're making a reasonable request. And the way you folks are looking at it is whether this will affect the comprehensive plan of your zoning regulations. A regulation that doesn't want a pool in the front yard is pretty obvious. You've seen the video of what the front yard, in what everybody would know to be the front yard of her home. There'll be no pool there. It's going to be behind. But because of the strict interpretation, because there's a road bordering it, they still have to treat their backyard as a front yard. They've designed it and put it in a location that protects certainly Mr. Grenier's clients. You saw that, the screening that was there and is a classic example of an instance in which your board could find, and the courts rely on your judgment that under these unique circumstances, you can find that the ability to use a pool, which is very customary in that neighborhood and in town general, that this is a kind of variance that is in accordance with your comprehensive plan and would not result in sticking a pool in the middle of somebody's front yard, which is the purpose of that regulation. And because there is no side yard issue, and if there was, it'll be addressed at the time of a zoning permit. Your board does not have to concern itself with the setback issue that was raised by the neighbors' council.
So council, I just wanted to ask is what we're looking at is simply a request for a variance from the front yard issue.
That is correct. Ken Slater, for the record again, absolutely correct. It's only that one requirement in 3.9 that says that a pool cannot be located in a front yard. If she's able to get that variance, then she'd be able to go ahead and propose a fully code compliant plan to the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman, if I may say one more thing, just read the definition of front yard in our regulations under definitions. A front yard is defined an open space between the building and the front lot line extending the full width of the lot, or in case of a corner lot, extending along all streets.
So that's all we're seeking. All that is being sought here is the variance from that.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm opening this up still. I want to make sure everybody has their say on this. Does any of the attorneys or members of the public have anything else they want to add?
I just,
Yes, sir.
generally, I didn't think that we were going on a track where the applicant goes, and then there's no other support, and then the opposition goes, and then we have, so I'm considering Mr. Attorney Slater as rebuttal. So I'm not quite sure if I'm even able to speak, because typically rebuttal is not permitted.
Well, first of all, we're not in a court of law. Generally speaking, administrative agencies have a lot more leeway than courts in how they conduct proceedings.
And
So
Mr. Chairman,
I'm
I
willing to let
appreciate
you
that.
speak.
No, I do appreciate that, and I understand it's very laid back, especially during these COVID-related times. And certainly would give due deference to Attorney Slater, is well credentialed. I know his firm quite well. At the same token, there is no hardship. They have not presented a hardship. There is no hardship under the state law or the case law on this matter. And that's the fact. There's no right to have a pool. They knew what they're getting, and there is no hardship under this current application. Thank you again for your patience and time today.
Certainly. Okay, I believe, of course, as I announced from the beginning, at any rate, the applicant is always allowed the last word too. So I'm going to ask the applicant and/or counsel for any final remarks before we conclude the evidentiary portion.
I'm not sure if my client has anything to add. I'm guessing not. My last word would be, if Attorney Grenier's position were adopted by this board, you could never grant a variance. And I think the chairman recognized that in earlier comments, that the ability to put pools up, to put sheds up, to make expansions of buildings, that's what you do. That's what you've done, and that's what you'll always do. So if the idea is that something is not in compliance with the zoning regulations, disqualifies it from a variance, then no variance can be granted. This meets the standards of Connecticut law and your regs, and is a perfectly sound place to put a pool. And we'd ask for you to approve the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. I'll take a motion to close the evidentiary portion of this proceeding.
So moved, Louise.
Okay, so Mr. Trojanowski Marconi has moved. Second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor of closing the evidentiary portion, say aye.
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 And opposed? Okay, so that is closed, and we will eventually come back and deliberate on this after we hear the rest of the evidence in the other cases. So let's move on. The next case is 13 Kellogg Street, application Z-20-81. And I believe our zoning and enforcement officer indicated that we do have correspondence on that case too, did we not?
There is no correspondence on this one, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So let's move on then to having the application presented. So is there someone who's here on behalf of the application at 13 Kellogg Street? Okay, I'm hearing silence. Now I'm hearing feedback. Okay,
We do not see the applicants here.
have the applicants been here before and lost a connection, or?
No.
Why don't we pass that? See if the applicant happens to drop in before we reach our conclusion.
I will try to reach out to the applicants.
Okay, very good. Why don't we go on then to the next case is 77 Obtuse Hill Road, Z-20-82. And is the applicant here for that application?
Mr. Chairman, yes. For the record, Valmar Franca on behalf of Mr. Gerardo Coelho for 77 Obtuse Hill.
Okay. Thank you very much. And of course, we have your application, but welcome to the Brookfield Zoning Board of Appeals, and feel free to tell us about the case.
Mr.
you, sir.
Chairman, if I can interrupt for 1 second, there is correspondence on this one.
Okay, can you please read that into the record first
For the
before?
record, it's 118 Obtuse Road South, Brookfield, Connecticut. This is dated August 26, 2020. A zoning board of appeals, town of Brookfield, 100 Pocono Road, Brookfield, Connecticut, 06804, regarding 77 Obtuse Hill Road ZBA application notification. To whom it may concern, we received the notification for the pool house cabana for 77 Obtuse Hill Road. We are in favor and fully support this application. Thank you, Tara Altabani. If I pronounce that wrong, I'm sorry. And it was received in the office August 31st.
Okay, so that's,
I'm sorry. So now you can go ahead.
thank you so much for reading that into the record. So I'm sorry for interrupting. So go right, is it Mr. Franca?
Correct. If I could please have, be able to share a screen. I don't think I have permission. If I could do that, I could pull up the drawings as we discuss
Sure,
it.
I'll make you a co-host right now.
Thank you.
You should be all set.
All right. Everyone see that? We can start with the survey, overlaying the location of the proposed pool house with the house and the pool. Is that up? Or?
Okay. Yeah,
Can everyone
see
see it? Sorry that. Yeah. Can everyone see that? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so for this project, so we have a single family residence and an existing in-ground pool, and the homeowner would like to add a completely opened pool cabana, pool house to be able to use this space a little better. And especially with everything that we're going through nowadays, everyone wants to improve their homes and their outdoor space, given how much more time we will be spending at home in the foreseeable future. And due to the shape of the lot and the location of the existing house and pool, we did sun study to look at the location here between sun angles and the height of this. We were looking at the optimal location to put this. So basically, since it's a one-story structure, we are proposing to set this on the south side of the property, and the eastern setback there in red is the 50-foot setback required by this zone, and then the darker black line is the property line. So the shape of this lot on that side and the setback of the wetlands on the western side of this, we wanted to stay as far away from the disturbance of the wetlands and still get it somewhat cohesive with the location of the pool. But that puts us back into that piece back there where we are into the setback by about 11 feet on the side setback of that.
Can you show us with the cursor the wetlands?
So this is the 75-foot line.
Yeah.
So this one right there. So we're completely out of it. But if we were to push this out or get it on the western side of the pool, we would be inside of that setback. Or review. Sorry, not setback. Review zone.
And where is the street access to the house?
North. So I could pull up. Let's see. So if you can see the highlighted parcel in yellow is the property.
Yes.
And Obtuse Hill Road is up north.
So basically, you have a very long driveway to get to the house.
Yeah, and substantially far from the street. You can't see this house from the
Okay.
that road.
And you have a pond that's between the street and the house.
Yep.
All right.
And if I close this out, you can see a little better what the property does back here. turns in, and that's where we get that setback issue back there behind the pool.
Yes, I see.
And then to the west of that, the entire wetland area. We're trying to stay as far away and not disturb that any further than what the original development caused.
Is there visual shielding between the pool and neighbors' homes?
Yes, so it's I don't have any pictures, but the owner is a landscaper and he's lined most of the property with nice evergreens. Nicely grown too. They're about probably 8 to 10 feet. We could definitely take pictures and submit that into you so you could take a look. But yes, it's nicely done and heavily screened.
So the hardships here are the shape of the property and the topography with the wetlands?
Correct.
Okay.
And then,
yes, go on.
sure, just for the,
I see.
oh, no, just to further show that the proposed design is fully open, no structural walls. This would be fully on piers, just to have the roof structure and a solid base, but it's a wide open, proposed as a wide open structure.
Certainly. Okay. I'm going to ask if any members of the board have questions or comments.
I have a question on the wetlands area. It sounds like we're trying to avoid that, but there's already a building in that area, which I'm guessing is a garage or shed or something.
Yes, that's all part of the original development, and you're speaking about the building back here, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that I could look up on the field card when this was built, but I'm assuming it would have been before zoning regulations were adopted.
Here's a field card, I see.
Built in 1966.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So,
And can you please explain again why moving it over towards the wetlands? I kind of missed. So moving it further, I guess that would be west, would not be
right. If we,
symmetrical. Aesthetically, it wouldn't look great, but
yeah. Right. And I just, I've always, with all the projects, avoided trying to, unless we absolutely have to, be within the upland and review area. So that's really what it came down to, is prioritizing being away from that, and also getting that, like you said, aesthetically, the symmetry on the pool, and working with what we were given there.
So how many feet are you?
We're asking for 11 feet deficiency.
But how far are you from the wetlands setback line?
From there, 14.
So you have
from this point.
Right. You could move it 14 feet to the west and still be within the setback of the wetlands.
Yes, with the if it's the 75 foot, if we're
right,
yeah,
and that would, then you wouldn't need a variance.
No, nope. Yeah, actually, it'd be close. Yeah, it'd be very close. Because the deficiency is 11, but it. Yeah. Yeah, we'd be within a few inches of getting it into place without moving it west, without encroaching on that exact location of that line for the wetlands review zone.
Any further questions?
Oh,
No? Okay. I'm going to now ask, is there any member of the public who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none? None? Is there any member of the public who wants to speak in opposition to this application? I've heard nothing. I'd ask the applicant, do you have any concluding remarks that you want to make?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Then I will take a motion to close the evidentiary, public evidentiary portion of this hearing.
Thank you very, very much for your time.
Okay. Take a motion. Lisa, second. Louise, okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed, okay. So this evidentiary portion of the hearing is closed. That leads me to 3 Freddy's Lane, Z-20-83. And I believe, now, was there correspondence on this case, Fran?
Yes, there is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, if you could read that into the record before we actually have the applicant make a presentation.
Most certainly. First piece of correspondence I have is dated August 19th, 2020. The Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Brookfield, 100 Pocono Road, Brookfield, Connecticut, to whom it may concern in regard to the ZBA public hearing on September 1st. The Mulders, 3 Freddy's Lane, have been upstanding members of our neighborhood for many years. They are caring and kind and generous. You can be certain any changes they make to their property will be professionally done and welcome addition to our neighborhood. We totally support any change they choose to make. Thank you for your time and concern. Regards, Mark and Marianne Favel, 4 Freddy's Lane, Brookfield, Connecticut, 06804.
Okay, very good.
A second, there's 2 more.
Okay, very good. If you could.
The
Go
second piece of is dated August 31st, 2020, regarding 3 Freddy's Lane. Dear Nina, Zoning Board of Appeals, I am writing in favor of the variance filed by my neighbors, Rebecca and Garrett Mulder. They would like to replace an existing shed with a new shed of the same size. My husband and I are 100% in favor of the variance. The shed would be located across the street from our property. We have known the Mulders since we moved to Freddy's Lane in 2010, and they are kind and responsible family. I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have. Sincerely, Allison Cantone. It has her phone number on there, which I will not put out there.
Okay. And is there any other?
There is one more. Yep. Dated August 19th, 2020, Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Brookfield, 100 Pocono Road, Brookfield, Connecticut, 06804. As an abutting property owner, we are writing in regard to the application by Rebecca and Garrett Mulder of 3 Freddy's Lane for a variance for a proposal to replace an existing shed. We will be unable to attend the hearing that evening, so this letter will serve as our comments and concerns to the application. Number 1, is the existing shed and new shed proposal encroaching on our property? ? 2, as long as the shed does not encroach, we find no reason to oppose the application at this time. Thank you in advance. George and Phyllis Jaber, 112 Obtuse Hill Road, Brookfield, Connecticut, 06804. And that's it.
Thank you. So let me now ask the applicants to present their matter, their case.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, Rebecca Mulder and Garrett Mulder from 3 Freddy's Lane.
Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you. We would like to replace an existing shed that's been on the property for 30 years with a new one of the same size and the same footprint. And our hardship is that in our backyard, we have our septic tank and then we have our septic fields. So this is really the best place to put it. We also have on the property line, there are trees. I have a picture if anybody wants to see it, that is separating the shed and our neighbor's yard.
Okay. And let's see, do we have the map that we want to put up? Or do any of the, I know all of us got the chart in our application materials. Do any members want to have it put up on the screen? And Fran, do we have it? Or Allison, do we have it?
There's the GIS map. I think Allison,
GIS map down. That's correct.
that should be part of the application, Allison.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can pull that up now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
I think she submitted two of them. One's got the topography, topo, then one shows the exit. Yeah, there it is right there.
Right. So let's see. I see number 3 there, and I see the shed is the one that looks like it's a corner is pretty close to touching the property line. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And why don't we see if we can, if you can describe where the septic fields are and where the septic tanks are.
Okay, I'm Rebecca Mulder for the record. I'm going to use my little arrow here. So here the septic tank is here, and then there's a tiny bit of a hill, and then the fields are here.
We can't see your arrow because it's my
I'm not
screen.
sharing. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so
Why don't you put the cursor somewhere on the property
Okay.
so we can have her
So-
move it? Okay, we see it
Okay,
next
so-
to the cursor by the driveway that's behind the shed.
okay, so the septic tank is probably above the 109023.
Like over here.
So it's about there. Yes, and then to the right of it, like the flat, I would
Okay.
say from starting there, oops, a little bit more to the right.
Okay, here.
Yes, about there, all the way back are the fields.
All right, so we wouldn't want to put a shed there then. Okay, so again, the proposed shed is the small pink square with the corner nearly touching the property line.
Yes, so that is actually where the existing shed is.
Yes,
Yes, and we would just be replacing it with the same size and the same location.
but presumably one in better shape, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, so all the members see where that shed is then?
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to ask the board members if there are any questions that they have for the applicant.
No,
Okay,
Is there any way to move that a couple of feet further away from the property line?
The only thing, the way that, I'm sorry, Rebecca Mulder for the record. The only issue there is that the driveway kind of curves. So that's why I think it's slanted. So there might be a chance where we could, if they could put it a little bit on the driveway, I'm not sure.
The neighbor raised some question about it being a property line issue. So, I mean, if you get it just a few more feet away from the property line and kind of make everybody happy, that might be a good thing for neighbors.
Would it be okay if I share the picture of the shed so you could kind of see the trees in between the property line? Just,
I'll make you a co-host so that you can share your screen. Do you know how to do that?
yes, thank you.
everybody see?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, that's the existing shed, of course.
So this is the existing shed, and the tree line here is divides our property. So these are our trees. I don't know if that gives a better idea.
So it's Garrett Mulder, 3 Freddy's Lane. So as you can see there, to answer your question, it is actually right on the very edge of our driveway here. So even if we were to pull this in closer to the driveway, it would still, this corner would still be in the same spot. It's a little deceiving. It is very close to the property line, although it's not on the property line. But I do understand the concern.
Right. Well, then, I'd like to ask if any other board members have any questions or comments. I'd like to now ask, is there any member of the public who wants to speak in favor of this application? Hearing none, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this application? Also hearing nothing, I'll ask if the applicant has any concluding remarks before we close off the evidentiary portion of this hearing.
I don't think so, but thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you all very much.
Okay, well, welcome. So now I'll take a motion to close the evidentiary portion of this hearing. All in motion?
So moved.
Oh, okay. So Larry, you moved. And second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Neil, second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So we've closed the evidentiary portion of 3 Freddy's Lane. Before we go on to deliberations, I'd like to ask once again, is the applicant available for 13, I believe it's 13 Kellogg Street?
Yes, my name is Eileen Seaman for 13 Kellogg Street. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, ma'am. Welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay.
I can hear,
may I make my presentation?
You certainly can, but first, let me just confirm, I don't think we have any correspondence on this that has not been part of our packets.
There's none whatsoever.
Okay.
None.
Given that, you're good to go, ma'am.
Thank you. There's 2 variances requested here. The first one is an accessory structure in the front yard for a guest cottage. And if you look at the site plan that we gave you, you'll see that to the right of our house and in front of it is our garage. And we're proposing to put the guest cottage in a similar position on the left side. So it would be symmetrical.
Yeah.
The reason for that is the hardship involved is, as you're looking at the house on the left side of the house, we have a generator and a very large underground propane tank. Across the back of our yard, we have the septic system. And I would also like to add at this time that we have a very sloping topography from Kellogg Street down to Candlewood Lake. So at the street level, we're at 462 feet above sea level. When we get down to the lake, we're at 430 feet above sea level. So effectively, there's a 32-foot drop as a property slopes from Kellogg Street down to the lake. So what I'm saying is actually the only level piece left on the property, or reasonably level piece, is the spot that we're proposing that's in the front area of the house. So those are, 4 reasons why we're requesting the variance. With regard to the floor area, we actually were originally going to do an accessory apartment, which would have been up to 800 square feet. Unfortunately, the builder came in with numbers that were beyond what we could do. So we decided that we would put in for a guest house, guest cottage. So it is smaller than what the accessory apartment would be. It's under 700 square feet, what we're proposing. My husband and I are both over 70, so we would have easily qualified for the accessory apartment. The purpose of the guest house is for our children to come visit. They don't live in Connecticut. We also, considering our age, figure in the future that we would probably have a caregiver living in that guest cottage. So that's why we were looking at also, we weren't even thinking of doing this except for COVID-19. And so one of the reasons that we're asking for the extra area for the guest cottage is for social distancing for those who would be in the cottage. I think that covers everything.
All right. If you think of something else, let us know. But first, let me move on to members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Does any member have any questions or comments that you want to ask the applicant? Neil, any thoughts or questions?
No.
Okay.
It would still be called an accessory apartment, even though it's only 700 square feet. That's the max you can go, is 900. So we don't need to call it a cottage or a guest house.
Well, the difference is, as a guest cottage, it will not have a kitchen. An accessory apartment would allow for a kitchen. I think that would be the biggest difference. But this, we are not. Again, the regulations concerning a guest house do not allow for a kitchen. That is one of the biggest differences between that and the accessory apartment.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the board members? Okay. Hearing nothing more, I will ask, is there any member of the public who wants to speak in favor of this application? Okay, hearing nothing. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, hearing nothing. Ms. Seaman, I'll just ask you if, are there any concluding remarks you want before we close the evidentiary portion of this hearing?
I guess the structure itself would match the house and the garage. And we think that it would be a symmetry, that it would fit in well with everything else. Again, the garage is actually in the front yard already.
Right.
So so the guest house would be opposite that. And we happen to have our lot, I guess is similar to one earlier. It's kind of a pie shape, and it has very long footage on Kellogg Street. And so our proposed guest house is quite a distance from any of our neighbors. We're more than we more than meet the requirements for setbacks in terms of, the neighbors.
Yes.
So,
well, we notice we have, we've heard no opposition for neighbors too.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, I'll take a motion to close the evidentiary portion of this hearing. So moved Louise and second Neil.
I'll second that.
Okay. Then I'll take a vote. All in favor of closing the evidentiary portion, say aye.
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 Okay, so we've closed the evidentiary portion. So I'm asking all the applicants and other interested parties to stand by as we go through the deliberations and decisions. Let's go back to, I'll take a motion to approve the application as submitted for 1 Knollcrest Drive Z-20-77, so we can discuss this case. Is there a motion to approve? Okay, Louise moved to approve. And second?
Second.
Okay, that's Lisa that seconded. So I'm opening this up to discussion. This is the swimming pool with the pie-shaped property on three streets. I'll ask our vice chair, do you have any thoughts, Neil?
I would call that the side yard between them and the neighbor, because the property line runs from Knollcrest to West Wisconsin. And then the applicant's property is at the intersection of West Wisconsin and Pocono Ridge, and Knollcrest. So I think the side setback works at 30 feet there.
I'm pretty familiar with the property considering
Yeah.
I'm on Knollcrest. And West Wisconsin and Knollcrest, Pocono, I mean, that location seems to be kind of the only location where there isn't a road. I think it's a pretty good location.
All right. I think a reminder is, it was mentioned before, and I'll say this again, is that, yes, people are presumed to know the regulations when they buy property, but that's true of any applicant that comes before this board. And second is that I know it was also mentioned that the regulations currently would prohibit the pool, but then again, that's why people seek variances. That's why this board exists, is to review whether or not an exception should be granted. So it seems to me this is a very unique piece of property. It seems to me that the pool is being proposed in the least obtrusive part of the property, from what I can see. So let me ask, are there any other comments before we vote?
It seems to me also that the only issue before us is whether we will grant or shall grant a variance with regard to the front yard or side yard issue, not with regard to the setbacks. Because we've agreed that has been addressed or not relevant, actually.
Absolutely. Alrighty, is everybody ready to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of granting the application as submitted? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the application has been granted as submitted.
And the reason for this one?
And this is the unique shape of the property. That's the hardship, I believe.
Thank you.
Also consistent with other rulings that we've made.
That's
with
true.
regard to property
Great.
shape.
Great.
All right, so I know we heard 13 Kellogg Street last, but that's the next one actually in the listing. So why don't we take up a motion to approve the variance as submitted for 13 Kellogg Street, Z-20-81. So I'll take a motion. Louise moves. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, Joe, you're seconding that one. Okay. So let me make sure. So Joe, are you on the third and fourth? I mean, the second and fourth ones, or the first and third ones?
According to the agenda, number 1 and number 2, and this would be number 2, and then Larry's number 3 and 4.
Okay, very good. I was just trying to remember which ones were which. Okay. So, at any rate, let's open this up for discussion. Jody, have any thoughts?
Well, it certainly meets all the setbacks. My only concern is the surface area coverage and, the drainage with the lake there. That's my only concern. So if that's not an issue, then I don't see any other issue with it.
All right, it seems to be symmetrical. It's going to be the same design or materials, I guess. We've heard the reasons for the proposal. Okay, any other board members have any comments or questions on this? Okay, are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor of approving as submitted, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, this has been unanimously approved now. Okay,
Hardship here.
yes?
I'm sorry, and the hardship for this?
Oh, yeah, this one is a topography on this in terms of the steep decline. There's no other place that this could possibly be put. Are the board members concur on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's move on to 77 Obtuse Hill Road. I'll take a motion to approve that application as submitted.
So moved.
Okay, Niels, and who's second?
Lisa.
Second. Okay. Okay, let's have a discussion on this one. I think, Larry, you're on this one, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay. Larry, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think it could be moved closer to the wetlands line.
Okay, how far? And would it be, are you saying it could be moved so that no variance would be needed, or?
Correct.
would it be a condition?
Correct. I would say it could be moved so that there's no variance needed.
Okay, would it still be next to the pool?
Yeah, it'll be offset. It looks to me that currently the way they have it set, it's very symmetric to the pool and so on, which I understand from a design perspective, but for a standpoint of a zoning regulation, I really believe they could move it closer to that wetlands line, still be within all the setbacks and not need a variance at all.
Okay, any other thoughts from members?
Yeah, I like moving it. You could turn it a little bit, slide it towards the wetlands. Then they wouldn't need a variance. They do have a lot of woods between the cabana and the neighboring house. But if we can sneak it inside the setback, that's better.
Or is there any thought about just moving it a little bit as a condition, or conditional approval? I'll let other members speak. Lisa, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, if they can meet the setbacks, why not? I don't know, moving it a little, so it's it's less non-conforming. I don't know. It just seems, I mean, you might as well make it look pretty if it's not going to be conforming.
Yeah, so would we, the question I'm wondering is, do we consider approving with a condition of moving it further, or declining and insisting that it be moved entirely so that no variance would be needed, which would also make it more out of whack from the pool itself?
I would say, from my opinion, that they should move it completely so that there is no variance needed for a setback.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Louise, any thoughts?
I
agree. Okay. Okay, then All in favor of granting the application as submitted, signify by saying aye. Okay, opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay, so this application has been defeated because of the belief that it could be moved to the degree that no setback would, or no variance would be needed. Okay. So Allison, I don't think we need any other reason for that, do we?
No, I think we're good with that.
Okay. So the last one is 3 Freddy's Lane, Z-20-83. And I'll take a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Okay, Neil moves, second.
Aye.
Lisa moves, seconds it. Okay. Let's have some discussion on this. Any thoughts on this one?
I'm okay with putting it right back where it was.
Okay,
It's been there for 30 years. You know, if they painted it and put new siding on it, they wouldn't be here, but they're gonna put a new structure up.
which will be better than the old. Okay, Lisa, Larry first, any thoughts?
I would agree with Neil. I would just remind the board that in this case, it would be an opportunity to have them be compliant with the shed within the setbacks. But I agree with Neil. It's been there for 30 years. Nobody's complained about it. It's one of those things.
Almost grandfathered.
Yeah.
Okay, then any other comments? Okay, so I'll take a vote. All in favor of approving the application as submitted, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, and I think I think the reasons are, I would say a combination of the unique shape of the property along with topography in terms of where the septic system is and so on.
Yes.
Okay. At this point, I think we have disposed of our 4 cases. I don't think there's anything else on the agenda. So unless anybody thinks of any new business, I'll take a motion to adjourn. I noticed that our next meeting is scheduled for October 5th, 2020, which I believe will also be a Zoom meeting, the way things are going with the coronavirus. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Louise moves to adjourn. Second.
Second.
Okay, Neil, second. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Stay safe, everybody. Everybody have a wonderful Labor Day weekend.
You do the same. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Good night.